Welcome. It is Let the People Decide from the City Sentinel and the Patriot Sentinel with Meow and Rarchar Tortorello. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you guys doing today? How you doing, Mick?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Look. You had a long weekend.
Oh my gosh.
Didn't you spend 2 days in the car? You just literally got home this morning, right?
Midnight? I did. I got home this morning at midnight. So let me tell you what we did. I got a notification that Clay Clark was having his Reawaken America tour in Florida, Tortorello. And they said, hey, there was media presence. Now, this isn't CNN or what we'll now be calling TNN. I love that. There wasn't MSNBC or any of that. This was the grassroots. These were people like the Conservative Continuum, the Flame, the Voice, people who were out there who were talking to people who were actually doing the speeches.
Right.
Roger Stone, General Flynn, Clay Clark, Aya Kelly, who we've got coming on
Looking
today.
Forward to that. Yes.
Yeah. So it was a great time, but I spent 2 days traveling back in a car with a cranky cat. And
most people don't take their cats on road trips. That's just letting you know.
I do.
Dogs, but not cats.
Yeah.
They are so hard to travel with. Cats.
Oh, he's adorable. Let me just say this, y'all. I should have taken pictures because it was me literally wedged between camera equipment and a litter box. It wasn't pretty, but anyhow.
I hope he wasn't using the box on the way home.
No.
So look, when you take road trips with your dog, they'll hey, let me out. You let them out. So how does a cat use a litter box when you're traveling in the car?
He did not use the litter box, but there was a couple times where he curled up in there just to kind of lay down. I think it was security, but then you had to get him out, and he's a Maine Coon. So, you got to kind of brush off all the litter. And yet, let's move on because it's giving me flashbacks.
Look, my parents used to live in Montreal. And, when I was a poor airman, I used to drive that entire trip because I couldn't afford an airline ticket back to Canada. Well, not with that. I'm from Canada, but they settled in Montreal. Hey, we got a lot of Canadian friends. And that was a 24-hour road trip. I mean, exactly 24 hours. I would go north up to Detroit, to Ontario, and take the Queen Elizabeth all the way east and make that one drive.
Wow.
Yeah, so I hate road trips now that we're older and we have tons of disposable income, right? I fly everywhere. I mean, you flew.
I flew out there,
but you drove back.
Okay, let me just say this. I haven't flown in a little bit, but the flight was delayed. Weather. All right. So the flight was delayed an hour, and then we were on the runway and they started everything up, and then they were like, okay, we got to slow everything down. And then as we were taking off, they were like, well, we're going to have to do circles in the air. By the time I left, I was so stressed out. I was like, I'll take a beer. Where is there a club? Is there a pub? What?
Taking flights to the East Coast is a crapshoot. Last year Nicole and I were invited back to DC with Newsmax to film our famous documentary, Shame of the Nation, January 6th.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? I am actually in the IMDb database for the first time in my life. If you search for my name, you'll find a link to the movie with myself in the Internet Movie Database. How cool is that?
Can I shift gears here for a second?
Of course, yeah.
January 6th. So there was a lot of people at the Reawaken America tour. Sarah Maccabee, I don't know if you know her.
Her, yes.
Okay, so her husband was the police officer, Ron, who was arrested, and all he was doing was trying to save Roseanne Boylan and help others. There were others, Jaleesa Middleton and her husband. There was also a broadcast that was done about January 6th. So, we really need to kind of focus on some of those people as well. And I'll tell you why, because the stories that they have are heartbreaking and they're sad. And it's going to kind of tie into what we're going to talk to Aya here in a minute about, just about people speaking out,
Right. Right.
people giving, voice to those who are the voiceless and who are being censored for no reason. For what good
Attacked
reason?
online.
Yes.
You're right about that. With Trump's, I wouldn't say exoneration after
Yes.
that report was released yesterday, right? This proves one thing, if anything at all, that they were after him and us. All of us were targeted by targeting the president. And I hope he takes legal action, but most importantly, I hope he wins in 2024, because if he does win in 2024, I'm a big supporter of Trump. I know folks out there like him, but they don't like what he says and does. But, that's ridiculous, all right? The guy accomplished so much. I mean,
Oh my
look
goodness.
at what he accomplished in his time in office with all the roadblocks,
Yes.
And now that the report has been published, right? Now we know that it was all fake. It was
Yes.
a setup from the beginning to denigrate us.
Yes.
Okay, he's always said that he's there as our shield, so we can go out and do what we have to do, get the grassroots, talk to the conservatives, talk to everybody. He was that shield for us, and in order to silence us going forward, they had to silence him. But in the way they did this, okay, nothing short of what they do in communist Russia or China.
It's a coup. It was a coup. It was a total try to overtake his authority, undermine him at every cause or every step. Here's the thing that we knew, those of us who knew, who watched, who supported, who understood, we saw that. But now the toothpaste is out of the tube. How does he get that presidency back? He can't. But what he can do is come back in 2024.
Absolutely.
Because we gotta pull this country back.
And the connections between January 6th, don't forget, people were angry.
Yes.
Everyone was going to go to jail.
But they wanted to make their voice known peacefully.
Well, look, their voice was known peacefully. Don't forget. Look, I was there. I had firsthand knowledge of what happened. I was on the ground. And when I was interviewed by all the news sources, of saying Antifa was in the group with us. So we're sitting there. We had tickets to the eclipse. We were trying to make our way there. We got there the night before, and that night on the 5th, hundreds of thousands of people were still there during a day rally at night, just hanging out.
Yeah.
So we showed up at 6 o'clock the next morning, hoping to get our way to our seat. By the time at 6:30, we were walking from our hotel, the Mandarin Oriental. There was at least 100,000 people, if not more.
Oh my goodness.
At 6 o'clock in the morning. So we didn't make it to our seats. We made it to the front gate. We met so many people. But the point is that I saw the first group of thugs. I was just call these Antifa guys for what they really are: communist thugs, dressed in black, hats, goggles, backpacks. And I said, "Wow!" I turned to Alex Torby. I said, "Dude, that is strange." It was cold, and he goes, "Yeah, it is strange here." But when I saw like 4 or 5 more sets of people dressed the same way walking through the crowds, it didn't register until we had left to go back to our hotel before everything broke out of the Capitol. We never made it to the Capitol. Bad back, weak bladder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Weak bladder, no bathroom to get to. I mean, we were fighting. I mean,
and it was freezing cold.
It was God. Anyway, I was dressed like I was deployed up in Antarctica, but it was still so cold.
Yes.
Even with the sardine type packedness of the heat, I was still cold. So we left early, and that's when the commotion broke out. And but I called, running for city council at the time. They called and said, "You were in D.C. You are in D.C. Tell us what you saw." And at every station, I said, "Antifa." It was Antifa. Conservatives, okay, everyday Americans, we don't commit acts of violence. You know why?
No.
We're too happy.
Well,
and happy people are full of endorphins. And when you're full of endorphins, you just don't do crazy shit like destroy property, protest, and storm a building. Yeah. We just don't do that. But every station took my story and said, "Well, the FBI said it wasn't Antifa, it wasn't Black Lives Matter." it was Trump supporters. Throughout the
Wow.
entire process, the investigation, the Shame of a Nation by Newsmax, that entire series, we now know the truth. Okay, the truth
Yeah.
is it was set up, it was staged to denigrate President Trump, and by the means to denigrate his supporters.
And
That
and
should piss everybody off.
well, and it does. The thing of it is that those of us who were there, who saw what was really going on, we need to have our voice. We need the people who are in prison to be released. They're in there 2 years, no trial. They're being made to where they can't take showers, they can't see their family, they can't see their lawyer. Their constitutional rights are being taken away. So who will stand in the gap? We will. We will. And that is why we are so thankful to have Aya Kelly with us today. Aya Kelly
So,
is, if you don't know Aya, she is the GOP chaplain. She is the vice president of the Oklahoma City Republican Women's Club. She sings the national anthem beautifully at the Reawaken America tour for Clay Clark, Oklahoma Conservative Political Action Committee. I've seen her sing it for when we had the Steve Bannon Grassroots Lincoln Reagan Gala. I mean, just phenomenal. But what gets me is this young lady is a naturalized citizen. She is someone who is out there who is speaking about the love of America, the love of the American flag,
right.
and the love of the American people, because she knows what it's like to be in a situation where you are faced with communism and tyranny up in your face, just like what is happening with the J6 political
Sounds like a
prisoners.
bad rap song or a good country song.
Thank you. Did that sound good?
Not bad.
Aya,
Hey,
welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. We are so grateful that you are with us today. And I am so grateful that I got to see you this weekend. It was a great time. Rashar and I were talking about January 6th, and we are on the same page here. They went after Donald Trump because they were going after us, and they knew they couldn't get to us unless they took him out.
absolutely.
I want to ask you, tell us a little bit about those things that you are involved with, because you do so many incredible things, and how you're connected to things like the Reawaken America tour, motivational speaking, the Oklahoma City Republican Women. I mean, it just goes on and on.
I did not know she was a motivational speaker.
Yes, she's wonderful. We love her.
Thank
You're
you.
on.
Well, referring back to what you just said about President Trump, not to be blasphemous or sacrilegious in any way, but they've rather used him as a sacrificial lamb. They have used him as an example, same as the J6 people.
Right.
They are telling us, you do this, we do that. And it's absolutely to scare us, to terrify us, to stop our voices. And yes, I did grow up in Okinawa, Japan, born and raised there. I say next door to China. I mean, it's a short flight,
Right.
but they did infiltrate the schools in mainland Japan, and communism is very strong there.
Right.
Brought those trained teachers to my island, and just for one small example, took away our own language. So the island of Okinawa has a language called Hogen, and they forbid the children to speak that at school because the mainland Japanese teachers couldn't understand it. So you ended up getting grandparents who could not converse with their grandchildren. And that was okay. So I'm 50. This was happening before I turned 13. We left the day I turned 13. My dad told me that just recently, so we're talking many years later, they're trying to teach that language again. But that language was basically obliterated by communism.
Oh, isn't that the way? Isn't that what they did? Correct me if I'm wrong, but they did that in, like Nazi Germany.
Yes.
They
Yes.
separated families, but they had to take away the language, take away the guns, because if you can't communicate and you can't interact, boom,
There you go.
you take the people out.
So my mother became an American citizen when I was in 4th grade, and she was always saying, I remember her conversations that, what's happening at the southern border, she had to go through. So she married my mother. He was in the Air Force. They met in Germany. And she had to go through all the hoops to become an American citizen at the time. And now what she's seeing at the southern border, she's saying it's not fair that she had to go through this
Mm.
legal channel, the legal process the correct way. And here people are just jumping over people to get to the head of the line and come into the country illegally. So I know that you and I share something in common, that we're both naturalized citizens. How do you feel about what's happening at the southern border where people could just jump ahead of the line, and you and I, our parents, had to do it the right way?
Well, we've had this problem for many years. And I think, again, for those who hate America, I often tell them, well, find the best place you can think of and go there. I mean, we're not going to miss you. But I think that's a perfect example. For all of these years, people want to be in America because it is the best country in the
Okay.
entire world to live. No one's trying to do this to the other countries, but what they're doing now is they're bringing in those who would destroy our country. Any naturalized citizens that I talk to, and I know many of them, they are not excited about this. They're upset about it. And just like you said, they came fairly. And now it feels like the work that they did, the money that they spent, why did they even do that? And so, yes, I believe that there is a strong coalition of naturalized citizens who are conservative, who want to vote the right way and will.
Absolutely. I think back to my father-in-law. He came here from Belize, and the very first thing that he did was he joined the military. And he joined the military, and the reason he did that back in the 1940s, 30s, 40s, the reason that he did that was because he wanted to show that he was patriotic, but he
Yeah.
wanted to be an American citizen.
Hmm.
And my mother's mother came from Italy,
Right.
and they came over. She brought 7 children with her because her husband had died. She
Wow.
came to America because she said this was the land of God, faith, family, and country. And those were the words she instilled. So,
I like what you said about the invasion of America, where they're
yes,
importing all these potential Democrats, uh, communists, Marxist aligned citizens here. That's a dangerous precedent, I think, that our Democrat Party today, which is supposed to believe in America. I mean, look, 30 years ago, we were all on the same side. You could be a Democrat. I'm a Republican. I've been a lifelong Republican. You have as well, conservative. And we would have our disagreements on policy. But at the end of the day, we all went home as friends, and we all went home as Americans. So, in your perspective, where did you see that shift? I know the shift happened, I want to say, during the Obama
Yes.
presidency.
yeah.
That's where I want
Yes.
to say the shift happened. They had somebody of that alignment become president and saw an opportunity to take it even further. Do you agree with that?
Yes. Yes, the old adage, united we stand, divided we fall. I think that Obama's main goal was to divide us, and he did a very good job of it across the board in every way that you can think, whether it was race, gender, all the different ways that you could think of to divide us. I mean, you know, even Japanese versus a lot of Americans now. A lot of the Asians are feeling unsafe. As a teenager growing up here into my early 20s, we didn't have that. I think America was headed in a great direction. But I
Yes.
will say this, I believe in the power of positivity. I believe in the power of the spoken word and the power of thought. And I really believe that there's more with us than be against us. And I just think that if all Americans who feel the way that we three do and many more,
Yeah.
this thing would be over with. If we would stand up and do what you guys are doing right now, this thing would be over with. And I don't know what it's going to take. Is it going to take us losing our liberties? Is it going to take us becoming like Venezuela or China? What is it going to take for the American people who have lived in luxury their whole lives? The poorest people in America are rich. The poorest people in America are rich. And so we haven't hurt. We haven't hurt yet.
And here's the thing, I'm glad that you brought that in. I want to kind of ask you about that. What it's going to take. So, at the Thrive Time Reawaken tour, there was a lot of talk about getting people involved, awakening people, bringing truth to light. And I'd like to kind of ask you about where you see your next step as a motivational speaker, and where do you see that the Reawaken tour will go? Will it continue on? Because there was somewhere around 4 to 5,000 people who were there. That's a lot. That's a huge. We are the silent majority, you know.
I think it's a silent and huge majority.
Yes, we're massive. We're just not speaking up. So where do we go, Aya? How do we bring that forward? What do you see as the next step?
Well, some of us aren't so silent. And
Yes.
Not with your voice, at least.
yeah, all through the years, the few years before COVID, well, I spoke at a 100-day rally for President Trump. And at that time, people were so euphoric. And I told them, this is not the time to relax. This is
Right.
not the
No.
Yeah.
time to sit down and be happy. This is the time to fight, because the fight is coming. I had that on YouTube. And very clearly, I told them 100 days into his election, this is the time to stand up. I don't like to use the word fight because they use that against me, but I'd like to say defend. I adore the American flag. I would give my life for that flag. I wanted to be a Air Force fighter pilot, but my dad would never give me his blessing for his little girl to be in the Air Force. But my blood runs red, white, and blue. I just got off the phone with Clay to answer your question, Miss Mick. There are great things ahead for the Las Vegas tour. He told me some of the speakers that are asking to speak. I'm not going to say the names because he didn't tell me not to, but he didn't tell me to broadcast it either. But I think that everyone who can go needs to be there. I know conservative people who were very conservative before they went to the Reawaken tour, but when they went, it was like night and day. They turned into different people. I'm going to tell you, if you don't love God, you don't love America, and you don't love President Trump, you don't want to be in the elevator with me, you don't want to be my Uber driver or my cashier, because I can't stay away from these topics very long. America is the last stand. When we suffer, the whole world suffers.
Mm.
Um, America's the last stand, and I'm going to tell you right now, Oklahoma is leading the way. They can say what they want to about Texas. They can say what they want to about Florida. Oklahoma is the standard, and it's going to take people like us to keep it that way. They're working hard to turn us purple and then blue. We can't let that happen.
We can't. Look, Norman, if you look at the city of Norman where I live, and I'm the Ward 5 city councilman, it is starting to turn purple. So with the way Norman go or how it goes, it could be the way the rest of the state goes. And so,
Yeah.
it's so important that we try to get conservative voices out in Norman, conservative individuals to run for city council. And it's not an
Yes.
us versus them. It's more of a representation lopsided right now. So council has gone back liberal. Okay. So how do we fix that? So how do we get people out? And if you had to get out and say, hey, we need more city council people. I mean, look, everything's local. Bernie Carrick is a good friend of ours. And I remember him 2 years ago saying, Rarchar, if you want to know the secrets to national politics, it's all local.
Yes.
All elections are
Yes.
local. So
Yes.
what would you say to anybody anywhere in the state of Oklahoma who wants to run for city council or state senate, that we need more conservatives on city council, importantly? So how would you say that? How would you have that conversation?
So we just got an amazing young city councilman into Guthrie. And I'm going to tell you right now, it takes one person, because basically the whole council was voting not in favor of the citizens. Now, when we have a job like that, we don't bring in the person who
Right.
does a good job. We bring in the person who does the best for America and for
Right.
the people, the citizens. So when he got on board, immediately someone else jumped over on his side, another person, and now we have 4 against 3 in a lot of the situations who are going to vote the way of the people. When we find a seat that's empty, it is our responsibility to find someone in that area who's willing to run, and then give them the help they need. I ran for state senate in 18 before grassroots was what it is today. And $42,000 was spent against me by American Wind Energy. The teachers union came after me because of where I stand on, the parents' right to educate the child
Right.
in the way that they see fit. And so they need our support. Knocking thousands of doors and sending out flyers that cost for me $5,500 for one flyer to go to my constituents is very hard on one individual. Right now, money's winning. And it shouldn't be that way, but we have to face the hard facts. And so we need the elbow work, people who are willing to give $10 a month or whatever it takes. But we have got to turn over the school boards, the city councils who are not for the people.
And we're getting ready to leave. We've got to get ready to end the segment. I want to thank you for coming on. Where can we find you? Where can we follow you? And would you tell us one more time about the Reawaken America tour and where that's going to be, when that's going to be?
Yes, you can find everything about the Reawaken tour on thrivetimeshow.com. And the one we have right now is Vegas in August.
Vegas,
My
baby.
biggest present, yes. Are you
Vegas in
coming, Nick?
August is not appealing. I'm just let you know.
It's never appealing, is it?
It's too hot
Right.
in August here. Why not Vegas in December?
Well, Hawaii might be better, but
I
my
would go
biggest
for that
present,
too. Or Oklahoma.
Ooh.
Why not? You know what? Let's see if we can bring that tour to Oklahoma, the heartland of America.
you know, they did try to do that, and they had a hard time finding a venue who would allow us to use them. That's the other thing. You know, people are scared. People have been made examples of. My biggest presence right now is on Facebook under Aya Attaway Kelly. First name is Aiya, last is Kelley, but you have to have Attaway in the middle. I have a website, amerirocks.com. America Rocks. We're just painting rocks and with the American flag and spreading them all over the place. You know, everyone can do it. So I'd love for people to reach out. I am doing motivational speaking around the country. So contact me if you're interested.
Thanks, Aya.
Thank you,
so
Aya.
much. It was a pleasure to see you. We'll see you again soon.
Okay, see
Well-
y'all soon.
Bye.
Well, Rarchar, what do you think? It's
You know
been
what?
a great segment,
It has been for picking up after a long weekend.
right?
I think we just, we usually have our show notes up on the screen, guys, and we just didn't have that this morning because one, it was a long weekend, and two, I think more
I was
impromptu.
liking
Well, look,
coffee.
it wasn't coffee. I think we have this down pats. The
Oh, I
notes.
do too.
I think
but
that
I was liking coffee.
the notes. We all have. You know what? We need a new sponsor. We need another sponsor. I wonder if the Black Rifle Coffee Company, who watches
Ooh.
this show, would be willing to sponsor us. That'd be awesome because
I would
look,
promote your coffee.
I have your
drink it.
coffee. I'm drinking it now. So
Aw.
I have it here, and I
You
love.
say we the people.
Well,
I say nurse.
Well, look,
That's my
this,
superpower.
look at
What's
this.
yours?
We the people. That is our superpower. So, anyways, she had a good conversation.
That was great.
The GOP's in flux, and
Yes.
we've got to find a way to get all the factions lined up.
Yes.
And it was a good conversation that we started. I wish this show can be a little longer because I
Yeah.
think she has a good insight. Tomorrow's show with Gary Barksdale. He is the new Cleveland County GOP chair, and
Flipped it, baby.
he did. We did. Well, it's always been conservative seats.
Has it really?
Yeah.
Because I can. Okay,
The-
I don't mean to. I don't mean to
the
be
Cleveland
snarly
County
to the last
GOP.
Cleveland County
Oh, okay.
GOP, but they were kind of
Well,
they maybe needed some reform. Can I be? I'll be nice.
no,
They
you,
needed
you
some
we can be
reform.
honest. Look, every
let's
organization.
be
No, we have to be honest.
We do.
The last chair was a good person.
No problem.
Look, it takes a lot to
Great
run.
people. It
But
does. Okay.
they forgot the responsibility, which is for the party,
And they're
to get people
that's
elected and to raise money and to stop the infighting. Now, it wasn't all this person's fault. There are external
No,
factors.
of
However,
course.
it goes back to that idea that the GOP, the Republican Party, have so many factions. And
Yeah.
now the latest faction is the MAGA aligned Republican, which may determine who's going to be president in 2024. They're courting this 30% Republican Party, which is called MAGA aligned. Who will they step out? Will they continue to support Trump, or will they go to DeSantis? And so we have to find a way for everyone to come back together.
And here's the thing: when I look at it, I'm looking at it even more locally. who is it that you are listening to? You have to listen to the people who are in your county and
Absolutely.
what do they want.
Absolutely.
So that was my thing. The last GOP for Cleveland County, great people, had no problem with them personally, but they weren't listening to their people, and thus they needed to switch over. So I'm glad to hear that we're going to be speaking to Gary. I like your hair. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it needs a haircut. But anyways, hey, we're done with this show here. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to Let the People Decide. But more importantly, I want to thank our sponsors as well. The citysentinel.com with a hyphen and patriotsentinel.com. Yep. We're on Facebook, Rumble, and like us, share us, and we'll see you guys tomorrow morning with Gary Barksdale.
Water whipping, water dripping. Broke the pack, mixed it with the measure.